Welcome to the channel PK 2023. Hope everyone has a good time watching our videos.
Haaland and De Bruyne take all the plaudits, but Ilkay Gundogan is Man City's beating heart. The German turns into prime Zidane when the pressure is on, so can Pep Guardiola afford to lose him? On the eve of their Champions League semi-final joust with Real Madrid earlier this month, Kyle Walker drew comparisons between Manchester City teammate Ilkay Gundogan and one of the game's greatest ever players. "I've seen a few tweets and been joking with Gundo that he turns into prime Zidane in the last few months of the season," he said. "Sometimes you have to shine, and he does it at the business end of the season." While suggesting it was somewhat light-hearted, Walker's reference to the legendary Zinedine Zidane when discussing Gundogan speaks volumes about the impact he has had at City. As Pep Guardiola's men hunt down a famous treble this season, freakish goal machine Erling Haaland and the majestic Kevin De Bruyne have often swept up most of the plaudits at the Etihad. Though for all of Haaland's astonishing 52 goals in 51 games, a tally helped largely by De Bruyne, it is Gundogan who has been the unsung hero of their near-successful bid to make history. His overall statistics may not stand up to his aforementioned colleagues, yet City's captain is the beating heart of their midfield end, as Walker pointed out, a true clutch player in the thick of title run-ins. Last season he rescued the club from a potential last-day disaster when they fell 2 goals behind against Aston Villa, scoring twice to complete a dramatic comeback and ensure they held onto the Premier League title by the skin of their teeth. And while it was not in as desperate a situation, Gundogan stepped up to the plate again for City in this season's gripping run-in with Arsenal, producing some masterful displays, and scoring vital goals during a 12-game winning run which blew the Gunners out of the water. The German's brace against Leeds earlier this month was one of his most priceless contributions in a City shirt, with the hard-fought 2-1 victory that came from it extending their lead at the top to 4 points. And 1 game later, he pulled out a goal of the season contender to unlock a tight Everton defense, controlling the ball on his thigh with his back to goal, before swiveling and poking it home with the outside of his boot. When the going got tough again for them in another high-paced title battle, Gundogan came up clutch once more. "I remember one season when we won the second Premier League when Fernandinho was injured for a long time and he played as holding midfielder in games like against Burnley away with the long balls, second balls and, wow, he played," Guardiola said about his captain earlier this month. "I said I had the feeling that without him we couldn't win the Premier League. He's so intelligent, Gundo, so clever and competitive. Under pressure he handles it without a problem. He's one of the best players I ever trained in my career in terms of the whole package. He's top class." From a manager who has had the pleasure of coaching the likes of Xavi, Iniesta and an all-time great in Lionel Messi, it is certainly high praise. To match this understated brilliance on the pitch, Gundogan is a modest, level-headed character often and refuses to get carried away by his achievements in this City team year after year. After lifting the Premier League trophy at the Etihad this season, the notoriously cold Roy Keane even felt inclined to point out he is not kind enough about his own ability. "I'm not the most special player in terms of giving decisive assists or scoring decisive goals, even though from time to time that may happen," Gundogan said on Sky Sports. "But I think my qualities are more in terms of bringing my teammates into the best possible situation, to give them the most easy solutions, leading them to this kind of simple situations. My football is kind of simple. I try to make it as simple as possible." Keane then interjected, "I'd like to disagree. You said you're not a special player. I think you are a special player. You're a special player, well done." He may not admit it himself, and some of his more marketable teammates tend to hog the headlines, but Gundogan is indeed a special player. More still, he has slowly emerged as one of Guardiola's true leaders in recent seasons. A world-class, experienced pro who rises to the occasion when the pressure cranks up. If City prevail as expected in FA Cup and Champions League finals against Manchester United and Inter Milan over the next 7 days, the 32-year-old will lift all 3 major trophies on offer to them this season, making him a focal point in one of English football's greatest ever teams. United's legendary side of 1998-99 are the country's only treble winners. And should they get over the line, don't bet against Gundogan flexing his muscles as a big game player in one or both of those finals once again. With history beckoning, there are few better captains to be leading City into battle. So just how, then, can they potentially let him go in the summer? 3 weeks after the Champions League final in Istanbul, A night when he could etch his name into footballing folklore. City's captain is currently set to depart on a free transfer. Reports have suggested in recent months that Barcelona are leading the race for his signature, while Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta is also said to be eyeing a shock move. Guardiola remains desperate to keep Gundogan 7 years after making him his first signing at City. He has admitted as such publicly. Yet the former Borussia Dortmund man is still mulling over his next move. At 32 years of age, he may only have another few years of his peak remaining, if that. Nevertheless, Etihad Chiefs should still offer him a blank check to extend his stay this summer. Without him at the heart of their midfield, Arsenal would almost certainly be Premier League champions. Without him providing when it matters and inspiring those around him, City's recent stranglehold on the title would have come to an end. Replacing Gundogan next season would be one of Guardiola's greatest challenges, with few midfielders of his know-how, intelligence and quality available on the market this summer. A club like City will undoubtedly be linked with a host of high-profile recruits heading into the upcoming transfer window. But tying Gundogan down to fresh terms would be hard for any big money signing to top.
Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe channel, comment and sharing our videos.